So I did my residency training in medical school in two very conservative places. So I did my medical school in Little Rock and I did my residency training in Indianapolis. And I would say in those places, I did not get much education about individuals who had alternative relationship structures or kink community in my training, or just much exposure to patients. I'm not saying that I didn't have patients who had either of those things, but it wasn't talked about as much or not as much in the open. Then I moved to Atlanta, and Atlanta is diverse in a lot of different ways. And I started to get much more exposure to alternative relationship structures and the kink community. And I really felt it was necessary for me to educate myself because I was hearing certain things about certain types of dynamics, and some of it seemed like, I'm not sure if that's quite right, because whether it's, let's say, an alternative relationship structure community, like whether it's swingers or polyamorous, there's typical cultures within that. There's like its own culture and general rules. I mean, nothing, is for certain, but there's kind of established kind of general rules. And what I would find is when I would have individuals who were new to those communities, if they really weren't educated about what those cultures and rules were, they could put themselves in situations where they could be like harmed or manipulated. So as people are telling me, because again, as a psychiatrist, that's kind of the thing that people feel safe to share. I wanted to be for sure that I was educated so I could have an understanding and also be able to help people process if it sounds like something maybe wasn't right with what they were telling me that was going on. So I went to this convention that's held here called Frolic Con. If you've never been to it, I think it's yearly in like May. But basically, if you can imagine like a nerd convention plus all things sex kind of combined together, that's kind of what the convention is like. And so during the day, just like any convention, they have sessions of different types. And one session I went to was healing trauma through BDSM. And it was such a wild conception to be in that space, to hear how people are using alternative means and kink to process their trauma and like what that looks like. So the people who were doing the sessions were actual therapists who were in the kink community, and not necessarily saying they were involved with kink with their client, but they were in the kink community. And so as patients were engaged in different activities kink-wise to process their trauma, they had their therapist too. It was very interesting. I've never seen a model of anything like that, but it kind of helped me get more educated about that, and that's kind of out here, and that people are also trying to process trauma in different ways. And then now at night Frolicon is frolicking, okay? There's like an actual dungeon there, and you get to just go there and kind of see all the things that people are doing. But I think also by going there, it really just demystified the activities. I think when you have something in your mind, you just have something in your mind and then you go and you're like, oh, okay, that's what it is. So I felt like I had a better understanding of the community. But I say that just to say that one thing I took from that conference that I had not heard anybody talk about was models of consent. And I put this website here, and now I didn't go through the whole website, but I went through this article, and it talks about 3 kind of primary models of consent. And I heard people talk about these when I was at the conference. And I'm telling you, people who are outside of kink have so much to learn regarding consent from this community, because they do consent. When it's done right and correctly, they do consent, and they do it well, and they do it in a way that people feel like they have a voice, and people feel like they have a say-so in what's happening, and that they can stop at any time. It's amazing. And I really wish that everybody had access to these models for consent. So that's why I wanted to share it. And thank you for your comment.